Most of what's in your trail bag will fail you when you need it. Cold hands, dropping blood sugar at hour 6 of a climb. Bars that taste fine in a parking lot and do nothing once temperature drops and elevation climbs. Where hikers bonk. Where dehydration creeps in until it's a headache you can't shake. A few wrong choices turn a trip into a slow, miserable walk back to the car. 20 foods real backcountry guides actually carry, ranked by how non-negotiable they are. Counted down now. One item later is something most hikers throw away without thinking twice. I'm Ranger Jack. 17 years outfitting alpine and winter trips. No sponsors, no free product, nobody paying me to put a label in front of the camera. Every item on this list earned its place in someone's pack after something else failed first. Number 20, trail mix. Easy nod, easy mistake. Most bags on the shelf carry more candy-coated pieces than actual nuts, and that kind of sugar spikes fast and crashes faster once you're working hard in cold air, leaving you reaching for the bag again 20 minutes later. Build your own with a heavier nut-to-fruit ratio, and it earns its spot on this list. The cheap, candy-loaded version is fine for a short afternoon walk near the trailhead. For a real climb, it's a quick rush followed by a slump you'll feel in your legs an hour later. The price tag is never really the issue here. It's that most buyers never check what's actually mixed into the bag before tossing it in the cart. Verdict? It's not bad food, it's just badly balanced food. And that's an easy fix once you start mixing your own instead of trusting whatever ratio the bag company picked. Number 19, jerky. Protein-dense, shelf-stable, packs flat in a side pocket, and it's the first thing most people throw in a bag because it feels like the obvious trail food. The catch most people miss is that sodium content varies wildly between brands, and some of the leanest jerky on the market doesn't carry enough fat to matter once the temperature drops. You feel full chewing it. You don't feel warm. Read the label before you buy. A jerky that's almost pure protein with no fat is only doing half the job your body actually needs in the cold. And the next item on this list is the one most people grab because it's the easiest thing on the shelf, which is exactly the problem. Number 18, standard energy bars. Convenient, familiar, lined up by the checkout register like they were built for grabbing on the way out the door, and very often loaded with simple sugars dressed up as performance nutrition. For a short day hike, fine. For sustained alpine effort, you'll be hungry again within the hour, and that hunger shows up as a drop in pace and a drop in judgment, right when you need both. The label says energy. The ingredient panel says candy bar with oats stirred in. You're not buying fuel, you're buying packaging that says fuel. And that's a price to performance gap most buyers never notice until they're hungry again 20 minutes after eating. Number 17, dried fruit. Decent fast carbs, lightweight, easy to eat one-handed while moving, but once you account for the water weight removed during drying, it's mostly concentrated sugar. In cold weather, dried fruit alone won't carry you through a long push. Pair it with something fat-dense, or it's just another sugar spike with a healthy reputation it hasn't earned. Think of it as a supporting player, never the main course. Number 16, granola. Bulky for what it actually delivers, the kind of thing that fills half a pack pocket and gives back less than a handful of nuts would. You're carrying real volume and real weight for a moderate calorie return. And in winter, the oils in cheaper granola can go rancid faster than most people expect, especially after a few days in a warm pack pocket. It's fine for car camping. It's not efficient for a multi-day pack where every ounce has to earn its place. That's the last of the obvious staples. Everything from here forward is a food most hikers walk right past in the store. Number 15, that's the easy stretch finished. The next item starts solving real physiological problems instead of just filling space in your bag, and this is where the list gets a lot more interesting and a lot more personal. Number 14, nut butter packets. Dense fat, easy to eat with cold or gloved hands, no prep required at 12,000 feet in a windstorm, and no mess once it's gone. Squeeze it, eat it, fold the wrapper away. The contradiction is that most people treat this as a topping instead of a primary fuel source. At altitude, fat-dense calories matter more than people assume, because sustained energy in cold conditions tends to come from slow-burning fat, not a quick hit of sugar. Skip this category entirely, and you're relying on carbs that burn off fast and leave you cold and hungry again before you expect it. It's cheap, it's compact, and it solves a real problem most snack bags never even address. Number 13, electrolyte tabs. Not technically food, but it belongs on this list because cramping and fatigue at altitude get blamed on being out of shape far more often than they should, when the real cause is sitting at the bottom of an empty water bottle. Cold, dry mountain air pulls moisture out of you faster than people realize, and that sweat loss carries sodium with it. The failure point here isn't dramatic. It's a slow headache and heavy legs that nobody connects back to electrolytes until it's too late in the day to fix without stopping and resting longer than planned. A tube of tabs costs almost nothing next to what a slow, miserable afternoon costs you in lost time and lost daylight on a winter route. Number 12, summer sausage. Heavier than jerky ounce for ounce, but the fat content makes it a stronger cold weather choice, and it actually holds its shape and flavor over several days on the trail instead of going stale. It doesn't freeze into something you can barely bite through the way some lean cuts of dried meat do. The price to performance logic is simple here. It's cheap at any grocery store, it travels well in a pack for days, and it solves a problem dried jerky alone doesn't solve in real winter conditions. Heavier on the scale, lighter on regret, and it never goes stale in the bottom of a pack the way some dried meats do. Number 11, instant mashed potatoes. People dismiss this as a lazy car camping food without realizing it's one of the fastest, most calorie-dense hot meals you can make with nothing but boiling water and zero prep work, no pot to scrub, no cleanup beyond a single bag. After a long, cold, exhausting day, a hot, starchy meal does something a cold energy bar never will. It actually warms you from the inside and resets morale in a way that matters more than people expect on day 2 of a trip. A few dollars for a packet, and it can change the entire mood at camp. Number 10, and this is where things shift. From here down, you're going to see items most hikers throw out of their pack before they ever understand why a guide keeps them in, and the higher we count down, the more it starts to make sense. Number 9, hard cheese. Underrated mostly because it's heavier than people want to carry on a long approach, but it's dense in both fat and protein, doesn't need refrigeration for several days, and survives being tossed around in a pack better than people assume. And unlike soft cheese, it won't turn into a melted mess at the bottom of your bag by day 2. In real cold, hard cheese holds its texture far better than most people expect walking out of the grocery store. A little extra weight in your pack for a lot of staying power on the trail. Number 8, tallow or fat-based trail bombs. This is the one most hikers have genuinely never heard of, and it sounds unusual until you understand what it's solving, because nothing about it looks like trail food in a grocery aisle. It's pure, dense, slow-burning fat, arguably the most efficient fuel source you can carry for sustained cold weather effort over many hours. People chase carbs because carbs feel like instant energy, but carbs burn fast and leave you cold again within the hour. Fat burns slow and keeps your internal furnace running for the long haul. I started carrying this regularly after a trip where carbs alone weren't getting clients through long days above treeline. It's not glamorous, and it's never going to trend online, but it works exactly when you need it to. Number 7. This is the one I learned the hard way, and it's the reason this whole list exists. On a winter ascent with what I still refer to as the Whitcomb group, one client's energy crashed hard partway up, not because they hadn't eaten, but because everything in their pack was light, sugary, and fast-burning, with nothing built for sustained cold exertion. We slowed the whole group down to get them warm and fed properly again, and that lost time stuck with me longer than it should have. That trip is the reason my own kit changed completely afterward, and it's the reason the next several items earned a permanent spot on this list. I still pull out that notebook before every trip and check it against what I'm packing. Number 6, Ramen blocks, eaten dry or softened with hot water. Cheap, calorie-dense, salty in a way that actually helps replace what you're sweating out, light enough that it disappears in a pack. And unlike some bars, it doesn't turn into an inedible brick once it's frozen and thawed a few times. People treat it as a joke food from a college dorm. In real cold weather use, it's one of the most efficient calorie per ounce options you can put in a pack, and it costs next to nothing compared to a name brand trail meal. Number 5, full-fat dark chocolate. This is not a treat item on this list. It's fuel, and the difference between a cheap bar and a real one shows up the moment it sits in a warm pocket and a cold pack pocket on the same day. Chocolate with a high fat content holds its shape in cold temperatures far better than lower fat versions, doesn't crumble the way some bars do after repeated freeze-thaw cycles, and delivers a real morale boost along with genuine caloric density. The mistake most people make is buying the lowest fat, lowest calorie option because it sounds healthier on the label. In the backcountry, that instinct works directly against you. The higher fat bar costs a little more on the shelf and pays you back every cold mile. Number 4, whole milk powder. The one most hikers throw away without ever realizing what it does, mostly because it looks like nothing on its own and nobody eats it straight out of the bag. Stirred into hot water, instant potatoes, or oatmeal, it adds real fat and protein for almost no added weight, since it travels completely dry. After the Whitcomb trip, this became one of the first things I started adding back into hot meals, because it quietly turns a thin, watery meal into a real one without adding meaningful weight to the pack. A small bag costs almost nothing and disappears completely into whatever you're cooking. Number 3, a thermos of something hot, prepped before you ever leave camp. Not technically a packable snack item, but it solves a failure point. Nothing else on this list addresses directly. It keeps you warm from the inside during the exact window when your body is working hardest to stay warm from the outside, which is usually the hour right after a long, cold push. A cold bar at altitude does nothing for your core temperature in the moment you need it. A hot drink does immediately, and that difference matters more the colder it gets. Number 2, bacon cooked ahead and packed. Sounds excessive until you look at the actual math, and it usually gets a laugh the first time a client sees it come out of someone's pack on a cold morning. It's extremely calorie dense for its weight, holds up well in cold conditions, and delivers both fat and salt in a single bite. It's heavier than most people want to carry, and that's really the only honest trade-off here. For a short summer day hike, skip it entirely. For a multi-day cold weather route, it earns every ounce of its weight, and the next item is the one nobody sees coming. Number 1, and this is the one that surprises almost everyone who watches this far. Plain butter, packed in a small sealed container, the kind of thing you'd never think to bring on purpose. It sounds like a joke until you've watched someone's energy crash on a cold ridge and realize that the difference between finishing strong and finishing miserable often comes down to fat intake, not willpower or grit. A spoonful of butter stirred into hot oatmeal or instant potatoes does more for sustained cold weather energy than almost anything else on this entire list. It's not glamorous. It's not on any trail food influencer's curated photo, but it's been in my pack for years, for a reason that's held up trip after trip. It costs less than almost anything else on this entire list and outperforms half of it. That's the full countdown. Here's the core kit, the non-negotiables I personally pack on every single trip, not just the demo kit I show new clients before a first outing. Tallow or fat bombs, nut butter packets, hard cheese, whole milk powder, electrolyte tabs, and butter every time, without exception. None of these are trendy. None of them photograph well for a gear list online. They're simply what's actually worked, logged in the same worn field notebook I've carried for 17 years, tracking exactly what held up and exactly where and at what mile or altitude something else failed. That notebook has more honest data in it than any nutrition label ever printed, and it's never once been sponsored, edited, or sold to fit a brand's marketing calendar. Before your next trip, run this quick check on whatever's currently in your pack. Calorie density per ounce. Are you actually carrying enough fuel for the weight you're hauling uphill? Fat to carb balance. Are you relying entirely on sugar that burns off within the hour? Cold weather stability. Will it still be edible after it freezes solid and thaws back out? Sodium and electrolyte content. Are you replacing what you're sweating out in dry mountain air? Packability. Does it survive being crushed at the bottom of a bag for 3 days straight? And cost per serving measured against the sustained energy it actually delivers, not the energy the label promises on the front of the wrapper. Run every item in your current pack against that list before your next trip, and you'll already know which ones to swap out and which ones earned their spot the hard way, the same way mine did. I don't take sponsorships, and I'm not telling you any of this because a brand asked me to put their product in front of a camera. I'm telling you this because I've watched what happens on a ridge when someone's pack is full of the wrong calories, and it's not something you forget, no matter how many trips come after it. Drop the food that's currently sitting in your pack right now and tell me how many miles or trips it's actually been tested on. Tell me what's failed you out there. Froze solid, turned to mush, or just didn't deliver when you needed it most. Tell me what you regret packing on a trip when it actually mattered. And tell me what you think deserves a spot on next trip's secret kit. I read every comment before I update this list, and the field notebook stays open for whatever you've got.